Okay, so Ron, first off, you're the manager of Village Wine.
Yes,
Looks
sir.
like a great place to buy beer, wine, and liquor.
Best place in the world.
So in Drucker Chapter 6, Drucker states that the starting point for management can no longer be its own product or service, and not even its known market and its known and uses for its products and services. The starting point has to be customer value. As a manager at Village Wine, do you believe that customer value is your starting point, or does Village Wine focus on supplier value rather than customer value?
Here at Village Wine, we focus more on our customers. Our customers come first. One of our mottos here is if we don't have it, we will order it for you and we will get it here as quick as possible. We take a lot of special orders from customers. Most of the store is filled on special orders because once we get one customer, it becomes a lot more. Especially if it's hot selling wine or hot selling liquor, it's very easy to just move the product. So we usually try to tailor to the customer more than tailor to the supplier.
Cool. In Drucker, it said that the goal of management is to make productive the specific strengths and knowledge of each individual at your organization. Do you feel, as a manager at Village Wine, that you accomplish this goal, or do you try to manage people instead of leading people?
I try to lead people more than manage, but sometimes you have to manage people a little bit more than leading them, just to kind of get things done, because you do want to be productive during the day, and you can't always be leading. Sometimes you do have to take that manage kind of role. But with this store, there's a lot of things you need to know, especially with knowledge, so you need to lead to kind of develop the knowledge in your other employees, because you may not be there all the time to answer these questions. You want to make sure your employees are well knowledged to answer the questions from the customers, especially with wine and beer. It can be a little specific with what a customer is looking for.
Cool. So this kind of leads into my next question. Both Drucker and McGregor believe that there's only two ways to manage people. There's theory X and theory Y. However, Maslow in Drucker Chapter 6 states that different people have to be managed differently. Which do you believe and which do you follow as a manager?
I kind of believe in both, but as a manager here, I kind of follow more each person needs to be managed differently, because each person here kind of has a different role. They've been here different periods of time, so there's certain people you can't treat the same as others, but you don't want to favor people at the same time. But it's definitely here, it's somewhere where you manage the individual and not the group.
So you have expectations for certain people rather than others?
Yeah, I do tend to have certain expectations for the people who've been here longer. One of my employees has been here pretty much maybe a year or two less than I have, and I kind of expect a little bit more out of him than out of the rest of them, just because he's pretty much the next in line after when I leave, like he'll be the next person to take over here.
Okay. And do you treat full-timers and part-timers the same, or how does it work with that?
Well, we're really most of them are all part-timers here. There's
Okay.
really no full-time except for me and one other guy, so it's really not necessarily treating them differently. It's just I see certain people less because I have different schedules, so I'm not here all the time, which
Okay.
is why I trust a little bit more in the other guy here.
Okay, cool. And my last question. On a daily basis, what do you think are the specific strengths and limitations of Village Wine? And as for the limitations, what applications do you think can be inserted into the organization here to play to those limits?
Well, our strengths here are we're very customer friendly. The customers love us here. We have a lot of repeat customers, and that's great. Also, we try to treat our employees very well, so they're happy. Your employees are happy. Your customers are going to be happy, and therefore your sales are going to be better. But limitations here, really, our limitation is our size of the building. With recent laws passed in Connecticut, the mom and pop liquor store is slowly kind of moving out. But to kind of make up for that, we have a great location where we are. We're on a main road, and it's a main road that leads to the beach. So our busiest season is actually coming up. It's going to be the end of May to pretty much the beginning of September. And that's just, it's busy every day. And then we kind of stay busy up until then. And that's about it. But that's the only limitation I really see for the stores our size.
Okay, cool. Village Wine.
All right. So, Ronald, as the manager, what do you believe your roles and responsibilities are?
As the manager, my roles and responsibilities here are to make sure the store is full, the store is stocked, make sure we don't have anything that's sitting and not moving, make sure everything kind of gets sold here, make sure the customer is treated correctly when they first walk into the store so that when they leave the store. Make sure everything's accomplished that the owner wants done every day, make sure my employees are happy, and like I said, make sure my customers are happy.
From the manager's perspective, how do you believe the business is being run? What flaws do you see in the current owner's method of running his business?
Honestly, there aren't many flaws in his method. It's actually a very successful method. This is one of 3 liquor stores he owns, plus he owns a bunch of real estate elsewhere. So as a businessman, he's very successful, and there's very few flaws. I will say one of the flaws here is it's a little. I've kind of become too good friends with some of the other employees, and it's like kind of where's that line, that kind of thing.
So, would you rather be good friends with your fellow employees or so-so friends with your employees?
I wouldn't say I don't want to not be friends, because it's good to have that manager kind of employee relationship where you can kind of trust your manager and you can trust your employee. But with this store, like I've worked with a lot of these people, and I've worked my way up to this position. I've only been manager now for about 2 years, and I've kind of working with these people. I've developed this friendship, so it's more of me getting promoted, and now there's that fine line where it's like, here's your friendship, here's work, and if you kind of can't understand it, we have to kind of come to an agreement on something.
And my last question is, if you were the owner, what would you do differently? Like I said, do you see the owner doing anything wrong while running his business?
I don't really see the owner doing anything wrong. I mean, he's been successful for 20 years now, and when he came into this business, he gave himself a 20-year limit. He's actually trying to get out of the business right now, but differently, I would maybe have concentrated on maybe one store a little bit more.
And he has 3, you said?
He has 3 stores, but the way we kind of do different things with the inventory between the 3 stores, it's a little confusing. That's like one of the flaws I would probably change, is try to run each store as either one giant store or each store as its individual store, because my store here is different from the other store on Post Road in Milford or the other store in Hampton. We have very different clienteles, and it's just more of him running each business as one instead of each business as an individual, and it kind of gets a little discombobulated here and there. But I actually look up to him very well as a mentor. I think he has very good business perspective, and I like that he's able to do the different businesses and succeed in these different businesses and provide for his family through these different businesses. And it's nice to see something like this and be able to work under somebody like this, because I've learned a lot here, and then the stuff I've learned from school I've been able to apply here, and it's actually made things a lot easier to do.
Could you see yourself in 10 years owning your own liquor store?
To be honest, not in this state. Just because of the way the laws are going, it's pushing more towards like bigger stores. It's pushing more towards Stop and Shops and Costco's and pretty much wholesale liquor stores. And for me, I would rather work in the wholesale side and the distributors, or my dream would be to open my own distillery, and either do a liquor or beer. Wouldn't really do wine. I'm still new to wine. In the 5 years here, that's the last thing that I've started learning. But beer and liquor, it's a different market. It's a little easier to sell, and you don't really need to be from a certain region to have a very good name with these different products.
Well, Ronald, thank you for your time.
Thank you.